Okay, so our warm up here between 1940 and 1945, over 1 million African Americans moved from the South to northern and western cities. At the same time, U.S. recruited Mexican laborers through the Bracero program. Why would a country encourage migration during wartime? So that's what you're asking. That's what you're answering. Why would a country encourage migration during wartime? Let's see what we get here. Dylan, why would a country encourage migration during wartime?
Because they didn't want innocent citizens to be involved during war.
Okay, so they don't want innocent citizens involved during war. Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. I like that. I want you to think about it like this. If all of a sudden you have joined a war, because we know that World War II kind of happened a little suddenly, right? Like Pearl Harbor kind of came out of nowhere, right? All of a sudden you join a war, and there's a bunch of citizens that have to leave, right, and go fight that war. Why might you encourage wartime immigration then? Yes?
So those people can be in the workforce and they can steady factory production, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I love that answer. So those people can be in the workforce and they can keep steady the factory production and the mobilization for all the things that we have to do to fight this war, right? We need somebody that's gonna build the tanks. We need somebody that's gonna build planes, right? And that's a big part of World War II. At one point, production in the war is going insane. They're rolling a tank out of the factory like once every hour, 24 tanks a day, right? It is insane the kind of mobilization they get going for this war. Yes, ma'am?
Could another reason be that like they're gonna need the resources in their country for war and they're gonna be using it a lot, so they might not have enough for like the people that are in the country that aren't involved in war?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to need those resources for sure, right? Think about the people that go off and fight wars, right? Do you see a lot of rich politicians going off and fighting wars? No, not a lot of that. Do you see a lot of like lawyers and people who work like white collar jobs? Do you see them going to fight wars? Not really. Who goes and fights wars? Blue collar, and typically your people who are like farming, right? Or maybe just don't have a whole lot of other things going on in their life that they can do, right? So if you take like a whole bunch of farmers out of the country all of a sudden, what do you need? Yeah, you need somebody to take care of the farm, somebody to grow the food and stuff, because we're still gonna need that here, right? And then we need to grow double because we need to send food off to our soldiers who are fighting, right? Right, Morgan?
I'm writing an answer.
Okay, so I think we've pretty much fairly covered why you might need immigration during wartime, right? It's very important that we have people who are able to work and fill in the jobs for the people who have gone off to war. All right, so here's what we're gonna be doing today. We're gonna do a very brief mini lecture, and then we're gonna get into groups, and I'm gonna give you some excerpts to analyze, right? So it's just a small little article that you're gonna be analyzing with your group, and then after you read that excerpt and you have filled out a graphic organizer about it, you are going to write a CER. So you're gonna make a claim about that excerpt. You're gonna provide evidence and reasoning for that claim, right? Then we're all going to share it out, and then we'll run through an exit ticket real quick, and then we will be done for the day, okay? So that is the plan. Now, our objective today is we are going to be trying to figure out how African American migration, the Bracero program, and government policies helped prepare the nation for World War II. Okay, so what I have up here is I've got a bunch of different things. I've got the War Production Board, This was a government policy that comes into play to help the United States produce materials for war. I've got the Bracero program. We talked about that a little bit in the warm-up. This is essentially a program that brings Mexican migrant labor from Mexico into the United States in order to help with crops and things like that. We've got Executive Order 8802, which basically bans discrimination inside the workplace for materials, right? So if you are getting a job where you are working in a factory, you cannot be discriminated against, essentially is what it says. And then we have African American migration, right? Now, we talked a little bit about African American migration in which war? Which one? I heard it. World War I, right? We talked about the original Great Migration, where there was a lot of African Americans moving up from where? The south, up to the north, right? And they were going to work in factories and stuff for the war effort. Same thing happens in World War II, right? So we're gonna be analyzing these 4 different things. So your group will be assigned one of these topics, okay? The first thing that your group is going to need to do is read through your excerpt, right? Read through the article that I give you. And then your group needs to fill out one of these little Freyer models here, okay? Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your subject in the middle here, okay? So let's say I've given you War Production Board, you're gonna write War Production Board right here. And then you are going to fill out what happened, why did it happen, the impact on the war effort, and then the impact on society. So I have done this one for Pearl Harbor, right? I made an example for you. So, Pearl Harbor, what happened on December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked by the Japanese. 8 battleships were damaged, 4 were sunk. That's what happened. Why did it happen? Japan was expanding into China and Southeast Asia to gain access to oil, rubber, and raw materials. The United States opposed Japan's expansion and put restrictions on its trade and also placed embargoes on its oil. The impact on the war effort, the United States declared war on Japan immediately. It changed the US trajectory from neutrality to joining the war overnight. And then the impact on society, it garnered this national unity, kind of brought everybody together. I know you guys don't remember it, but there was this time very immediately after September 11th where people felt like, okay, we're all Americans, we're all in this together, we all gotta fight this, right? Same thing happened shortly after Pearl Harbor. You also have economic mobilization, so all of a sudden, the country is getting ready for this war, right? The expansion of federal power, they are making sure that every facet of production is ready to go fight a war. So, this is the first thing you are going to do as a group. All right, you're gonna fill out one of these Freyer models on your subject. All right, I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to do that. And then you will have 10 minutes to write a claim, evidence, and reasoning for your subject, right? And your prompt is going to be, why did your event have the greatest impact on preparing the United States for World War II? I want you to write this as if you are going to be talking to somebody else tomorrow about their event, and you're arguing that your event was more important. Does that make sense? Okay, so make a claim. My event was the most important because, right? Find evidence from that excerpt, and then put your reasoning on why you believe so, okay? I have broken you up into groups, and I have assigned your groups different roles, okay? So, for instance, group 1 over here, Brianna, Samuel, Maya, and Liliana. Here is your packet. I have all of your documents here, and I've assigned you roles. So, Brianna, you're gonna be the recorder, you're gonna write everything down. Samuel, you're the evidence finder. Maya, you are the speaker. And Liliana, you are the reader. Look through the text, and you're going to fill out this Freyer model here. Now, I helped you out a little bit here. If you look, you can kind of tell there are highlights here, okay? Where there is information that you may very well be needing to put on your Frayer model, okay? So you can kind of see it, it doesn't show up very well, but you can see that there's highlighted material, right? That will help you fill out your graphic organizer, okay? All right, when you are done with that, when we start our CER, I have provided you with CER templates, okay? So these are little claim evidence reasoning templates that give you sentence frames in order to help you make your claim, right, and provide evidence and reasoning, okay? So I will come help you with this once we are done with this. So go ahead and read through your article here and then start putting these in here, okay? Do we understand? We're good? Everybody's good? Okay. All right, go ahead and get started. So, what is the order? What is the order? What's it doing? Let's look at these highlighted areas. This is highlighted, right? So what's this say?
On June 25th, 1941, Roosevelt issued an executive order. This order was made it illegal for defense companies to discriminate when hiring workers.
Okay.
It also created a fair employment practice committee to watch how the order was being followed and to help enforce it.
Okay, great. So that's what happened, right? That's what the executive order is all about, right there. Right? It's essentially saying that if you are going to be working in this industry, you cannot discriminate against certain workers, right? Yeah, you got it. Go ahead and keep on. That one's good. So now let's look for the next part while he's writing that down. The next one we're looking at, why did it happen? Right. So let's take a look up here at this highlighted area. Can you read that for me?
Yeah, it says, even though many black people got these factory jobs, they still face unfair treatment, and they experience violent attacks, segregation, and unfair rules at work.
So there we go. That's definitely a reason why you would put that in order, right? Like, there's obviously discrimination going on. They need to make sure that these people feel safe in their jobs and that they can do their jobs. So that's a good why did it happen. Okay. See if you can find what impact it has on your own. Okay? So read through it and see if you can find the impact on the war effort, okay? And then the impact on society. Kennedy.
Why did that happen?
Okay. So
It says, even though many black
What you guys are
people
done
got these factory jobs, they still face
additional portion. So when you guys are writing your CER, when you're making your claim, evidence, and reasoning, I also want you to try to add in a counterclaim. Okay? So for whatever argument you come up with, see if you can anticipate a counterclaim to that argument, right? So somebody might say, well, yeah, sure, this is having, these guys come in and do labor is great, but then they're going to, I don't know, like you could say, for an example, well, they might cut wages because they might work so cheap that other people don't want to take these jobs now, right? Come up with your own counterclaim in your CER, okay?
Sounds good. And for why that happened was because Mexican Americans during the early Depression era, they were discriminated against.
All right, guys, we've got less than 5 minutes to get our Frayer model done, to get the graphic organizer filled out. And then for the next 10 minutes, we are going to be working on our CER. Half of the world's wartime industrial production was in the United States. Of course, it helped that the U.S. factories were not bombed like those in the UK and Soviet Union, right? But that first sentence, by the end of World War II, half of the world's wartime industrial production was in the United States. That's probably directly because of the War Production Board, right? The War Production Board is kind of, the head, the hub of producing materials, so.
What is it then? So their wages never changed.
Because why?
I'll say it. So let's just get the evidence of
Because we have to
reasoning.
create an impact, because it allowed for, they're allowed to be able to hire more people so that they can be able to make more and produce more in the factory.
Okay, I love that, so let's go ahead and write that down, right? And then try to provide reasoning from the text, right? So find somewhere in the text where it helps you back up that evidence and that reasoning, okay? It's good to be able to quote something out of the text and be able to say, this is why I'm making this claim, this is why I have this evidence, right?
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys, we got about 5 minutes until we start sharing our claims and evidence, okay? 5. Yes, absolutely, please do. Please do, yeah.
Okay, so like, where it says that our event, like, why did it have the greatest impact on preparing the youth, but like, it doesn't give like that we had a good impact, cause the Mexican workers and stuff, when the World War II ended, the contract was, I'm confused. I
Okay,
feel
so
like I'm lost.
what can you infer from it though? Like, what can you kind of get out of the article that it may not necessarily be telling you? Like,
When there were no workers during World War II, Mexicans came and worked during World War II.
yeah, absolutely, right? That's part of it. And that's going to help what? Agriculture and resources industry, for sure. Yeah, so we're just making inferences, right? Like, so we're seeing that this is helping the war effort, we're seeing that it's needed. What else can we kind of glean out of this article that it's not maybe directly telling us?
It's like, you know, when your time is few, it's kind of like, the fact that, over time, people, like, of all races work.
Yeah,
And because this one, it says after the ended, the service sector work that was stayed.
there we go.
The program allowed in long-term, program allowed Mexican migrant workers to establish social communities, and family roots in the US, so. It's
So
like,
it even impacted the landscape of America, right? Like, it definitely introduced more of these families into the community. So, you know, there's several different ways that you could say that it has had a great impact on the United States. That's a huge way right there, is that it has, you know, given a home to all of these families.
oh, so can we say,
It doesn't necessarily have to be impact on war production, right? It could be just impact on the United States itself.
because, so, can we put that like for an impact? The US didn't have like immigrants from other countries doing labor, and it's an impact because now that they have more people from other countries,
Yeah, so far.
they have more labor, and
Go ahead. The CEO, yeah.
It had the greatest impact on preparing the U.S. for World War II.
Hold on, what was your subject?
The African-American migration.
Okay.
It had the greatest impact on preparing the U.S. for World War II because when they migrated, they took industrial jobs that helped prepare resources for the war. In paragraph 4, it says the mobilization of American wartime economy in 1942 produced more than $100 billion in government contracts in just 6 months, creating a plethora of new job opportunities in the North. The predominant area of manufacturing industrial jobs also gave free government training programs and brought in more and younger African Americans because it sounded appealing.
Fantastic, I love that. It's an excellent answer. It's got a quote from the evidence. Good, excellent. What you got in that?
Our event, War Production Board, has the greatest impact on preparing for World War II because of the large amount of production of